Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. The New York Mets getting their fourth straight win today by virtue of a walk-off base hit from Ronny Mauricio in his first plate appearance of the season. Just got called up yesterday from Syracuse to replace the injured Juan Soto. I mean, they said it on the broadcast. I think it might have been Gary Apple here in the postgame show. Sometimes you just can't script it any better. Getting the call yesterday to replace one of the best players in this generation, a guy that was told before this game that Ronny was not going to get very many starts with this team, and understandably so. Pretty much every spot is taken. The Mets still care about his development. That's why they sent him to AAA this year, so that he could get everyday reps and starts. But they did tell him that he will get pinch hitting opportunities. And in his first one of the year, there could be no bigger spot than in a tie ball game with a ghost runner at third and one out, just immediately after Geraldo Perdomo made a terrific diving grab to rob Bo Bichette of what could have been his first career Mets walk-off base hit. But it is Ronny coming back from an 0-2 count to rip a fastball into right field, and the Mets win their fourth straight. 4-0 in the Mendy glasses era. That's right. He's even wearing them right now at his post-game presser. But a nice, fun comeback win. The second straight comeback the Mets have orchestrated in the 8th inning or later now, going back to Sunday's win against the Giants. We're going to break it all down right now. Put it in the books, baby. What's up, guys? I'm Tony Metro. Welcome to the stream. You know the deal. Daily Mets content here on the channel. Be sure to subscribe if you are not already. Live streams after every Mets game. And please do me a favor, like this video. Really appreciate that. Helps the channel out so much. We're getting so close to 6K subscribers. My new goal is to try to get to 7K by the end of May. I think we could do it. I mean, that's like a little less than 2 months, but this is your source for all the latest Mets news, info, and opinions from yours truly. You can also follow me on all the other platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Links to those are in the description of this video down below. Let's go to the chat. Joe Saturn, he's a regular. Mauricio with the big hit. I mean, man, you can't script it any better. You really can't. Ronny coming up, I mean, has barely had even, like 24 hours in New York probably by the time he got down there from Syracuse, and comes up there with an out and a runner at third, the winning run, falls behind 0-2, 2 fastballs that he was late on from former Met Paul Sewald, which, by the way, makes this all the more sweeter because of how bad he had been with the Mets over his tenure in Queens. And he's actually had a couple of big saves and innings against the Mets in the past since departing from the team. So that makes it even better. And he rips that ball into right field over the right fielder's head. I mean, no matter what, it was going to score him unless it was right at the right fielder there. But Ronny coming through. Blast Radius, what is up, Blast? Good to have you in here, man. Welcome to the chat. A nice win, guys. A really nice win. We're going to go through it all. I mean, it was looking like it might be similar to one of the losses that they took either in St. Louis or the one in the finale against Pittsburgh last week. Another extra inning slog of a game where the Mets just couldn't put together enough good at bats. You know, you had the umpire working against them in this one a little bit. We'll get more into that later on. But Stoney, hey Tony, what's up, Stoney? Good to have you in, man. Let's go Mets. Blast, what a gritty win. So happy for Ronny. Gritty's a great way to describe it. I mean, awesome win. Like, the team goes up 2-0 in this one. They have the disastrous 5th inning, which I will get into more detail in as we continue on the stream. And they, again, could have quit there. But in the 8th inning, once again, right in the middle of it all, getting it started is Jorge Polanco with a base hit to lead off the inning. He gets pinch ran for with Tyrone Taylor. The Mets end up going to Jared Young to pinch hit after a Brett Beatty single put runners on the corners. And Young comes through with the sac fly to tie this ball game up. And then how about this bullpen? Once again, a tremendous job. And we'll talk a little deeper about that 5th inning because obviously Brazoban allows all 3 inherited runners from Freddie Peralta to come around to score. But I will go deeper into that and give you my thoughts and feelings on it as we get to this game in a moment here. Let's finish with the chat. Danny Caps, great win for our boys. Love it, Danny. Welcome to the stream, man. Yeah, great win. 4 in a row. That is a nice little winning streak the Mets are on, for sure. I mean, when your team gives up 3 runs, this offense should be able to win more games than not when their pitching staff staff has only given up 3 runs, and they have been up to the task over these last couple of games during this winning streak for sure. Village Menez says the Chimmy Mauricio. I like that. Chimmy Mauricio. I'm going to start using that one. Enrique Garcia, what up, Tony? I was only able to catch the final 3 innings. Good timing on my part. Hey, Enrique, you might be the good luck charm. Thank you for that. Yeah, well, you really only needed to see the final 3 innings. Wasn't a whole lot of action in the first couple innings of this game. That 5th inning was obviously a big one for Freddie Peralta and Brazaban, but thanks for tuning in just in time to will the Mets to a nice W here. Blast says the pen did its job. The pen was tremendous once again. I mean, it shouldn't surprise you anymore. Hopefully it holds up, obviously, but the pen has done a really good job so far. Jimmy James, howdy. Nice job by Ronnie. I was nervous when he was behind 0-2. So was I. And, you know, he was swing happy. You could tell he was ready to hit the ball. He was looking to just swing. And, you know, Paul Sewald is known for his slider. He can bring the heat, too. Obviously, blew the first one past Ronnie. He was late on the next one that he fouled away. And then came back with the 3rd fastball. He actually shook off his catcher twice to get to the fastball again. And Ronnie, ready for it, and takes it into right field. A laser of a double into right field. I guess it goes down as a base hit. I said double, but, you know, I guess it's technically a base hit, but either way, nice job by Ronny Mauricio. Mark Rapsodo, who? Let's go Mets. Don't say that. We need Juan Soto. We really need him. Tony, how long will Juan Soto be out? So he's on the 10-day injured list, retroactive to Saturday. The Mets said it could be 2 to 3 weeks for Juan Soto, but I kind of have a belief he's going to be back the day he's eligible to return from the injured list, barring any type of setback. But the Mets also could be patient with him and give him a little bit longer than that. So we will see, but I don't think it's going to be anything serious or long-term for Soto. Enrique Garcia, was great to see Luke and Williams come through and nail it down. Yes, that was tremendous. I mean, Williams gives up 2 hits in the inning, but other than that, he was able to get through it. And then Weaver, what a job by Luke Weaver, coming in the 10th with the ghost runner at second, and that guy did not move more than 5 feet off the base from his leadoffs. Just a tremendous job by Weaver. I mean, we say as the home team, if you keep the away team to just 1 run in this new era of ghost runner baseball and extras, you got a good chance to win. You hold them scoreless, and you better go back in the bottom half of the inning and win that ball game. And that is exactly what the Mets did here today, and you got to credit Luke Weaver and Devin Williams for their performances in the 9th and 10th inning. Dave says, Tony, why didn't Beatty attack that pop-up that Alvey lost in the clouds? That was Jared Young that was actually playing first base at that time. So I'm not sure if maybe Young was further off, behind the first base bag and didn't have a chance to get to that. I mean, that was almost directly behind home plate. It was near the first base dugouts on deck circle. I don't think many first basemen would have been able to get to that one, but man, I got to say, when that pop-up fell to the ground, I was like, this is going to come back to haunt us. This is going to come back to haunt us. They are going to get a base hit right now, but fortunately, that line drive held up long enough in center field for Luis Robert, I think Robert is what we're going to go with, to pick off for the second out of the inning, and then Weaver coming back with the strikeout there to finish the 10th. Dave says, was thinking L after that. There you go. I felt the same exact way, Dave, without a doubt. More Wesley Parks. Imagine Marte on the Mets making those plays at second. I said Perdomo. I apologize. It was Marte making that beautiful diving grab up the middle that, wow, the Diamondbacks had that sliding catch in center field that I thought was going to hurt the Mets. As soon as the team starts making plays like that against the Mets, I automatically assume the worst is about to happen, and that's exactly what I was thinking after Ketel Marte robbed Bo Bichette of that hit. And I'll be honest with you guys, I kind of second-guessed the decision to pinch hit Ronny Mauricio. I know Tyrone Taylor was hitting in the 3-hole at that point because he came in to pinch run for Jorge Polanco in the 8th inning after his leadoff single, but I was thinking, I've seen Ronnie get a little antsy, a little swing happy before, and let's be honest, that's what he was today, but bared down and found a way to take that fastball into right field, just like I said before, an absolute laser. So I am glad that I was not on the decision-making end of that, because I probably would have opted for Tyrone Taylor to hit there instead of pinch hitting him with Ronny Mauricio. Ronnie gets the job done. Another nicely managed game by Carlos Mendoza today, guys. You got to give credit where it's due. Hakeem the Dream $2 super chat. I appreciate that, Hakeem, very, very much. Thank you so much. Treats for Mookie, sitting here by my side, my loyal 100-pound German Shepherd companion over here. He says Lindor's awful. His days are numbered in New York. Lindor had 2 hits in this game, man. What are we talking about? I mean, look, yeah, he struck out there in the 9th with, runner aboard, it was actually bases empty, but he had 2 hits in this game, including an RBI double. He doesn't get credit with the RBI because there was a bit of a, fumble on the relay from the Diamondbacks, but this is not the day to get on Lindor, man. Come on. He had the error in that inning. I get it. It didn't actually harm the Mets, but it did force Freddie Peralta to throw a lot more pitches than he would have liked to early in this game. And that, unfortunately, was a theme that happened to Peralta twice in this one during his start. So let's get into this real quick as I put on my Mendy glasses here. Real quick, though, Caden DeGrom, Benj had a good piece in the 9th. Hey, Benj, if it's not a windy day, I think that ball might get out without a doubt. Let's see. Chris says, Ronny did it. Mendoza wearing glasses 4-0. These are the Mendy glasses, baby. I had these before we saw Mendy with them, though. I was the trendsetter. Danny, I know it's only 11 games, but Benj, not too thrilled to see. It's been a little bit of a slog, as Gary Cohen has called it, for Carson Benj, without a doubt. I think that would make him now 0 for his last 23, maybe 21, somewhere in that range. So it's been really tough stretch for Carson Benj lately. But look, his ground out in the 2nd inning in his first at-bat, it was right up the middle. He hit the ball over 100 miles per hour. They were shading him that way. That's been the case. I think he's probably had 3 balls up the middle that he has hit very, very hard, but they are shading him up the middle because they know that's how he goes. That's his approach, is to go up the middle and away. And then he had the fly ball, obviously, there to lead off the 9th inning. That very nearly looked like it was going to be a walk-off homer. And like I was just starting to say, I think the wind played a big factor in some of the balls not leaving the yard here today for both teams. But it has definitely been rough for Carson Benj. There's really no sugarcoating it, although I just kind of tried to for you guys a little bit. Stoney, seems like the team is more spunk than last year's team. Look how many games this year we've come back and won. The season hasn't even started. Last year's team didn't do this. No, I mean, we know that the struggles with coming back after trailing late in games. Throw out that stat of it being 0-75 or whatever, trailing, entering, or after the 8th inning, whatever it was. This team has come back now twice here after trailing, entering the 8th. So really impressive. And in back-to-back games, to do it on the road in San Fran and then to do it here today against NL West, a team that's vying hopefully for a playoff spot in the Diamondbacks off of their closer that has had success against them in the past, and Paul Sewald. Really, really nice to see this team fighting tooth and nail these last couple of games for sure. More Wesley Parks. Mendoza has a lot of talent to work with, no doubt, and he's been pushing the right buttons to put them in positions to succeed. I thought the Jared Young pinch hitting decision was a big one too, to pinch hit Vientos, who's been red hot. He was hitless in this game to that point, 0 for 3, but they go to Jared Young with a tough righty and Jonathan Loaizaga on the mound. Jared Young comes up, does his job. I said during that at-bat, dude, just hit me a sacrifice fly and I will be thrilled with what we get from just with that. I don't need a base hit. I don't need a double or a homer from you, Jared Young. Just give me the sac fly. He hits one to the track in right center field and does his job. And that's, again, just like the Tyrone Taylor pinch hit home run on Saturday against the Giants, because Mendoza put him in a position there to succeed. So super thrilled about that. Blast says, do you think it's coincidence they're playing so tough with Soto out, or is there more to it? It's a coincidence in my opinion. I mean, I'm not going to turn this into a Soto doesn't want, have the, I don't know how to even word it, like that Soto is somehow detracting from their intensity or their, willingness and want to come back. I don't think that's the case at all. So I'm going to just say it's a coincidence. But let's see. More Wesley. Can't wait for those full game highlights. That's going to be awesome. I mean, I do my best to give you guys these ones right here. And obviously, they don't look as great, but it gives you something to look at here instead of, what's going on up here. So let's see. Stoney, Jared Young's impressing me this year. Jared Young's been awesome. I've had to eat my words lately, guys. He has been great, and I didn't want him on this roster, but he has been a huge part of a couple of the Mets wins already early this season, so I'm stoked about that. All right, let me share my screen with you guys. Let's take a look at what we got going on. The Mets getting the nice W. Let me just adjust this here. All right, bing, bong, boom, bop, bing, bop, beam. 4-3 win for the Mets, their 4th consecutive win. Freddie Peralta was on the mound in this one. Was able to get out of the first inning, work around a walk, get a strikeout in that one as well. Went to the second inning there, got the fly out to begin things. He had a 23-pitch first inning, and that obviously is a little bit higher than you want it to be for Freddie, right? The Mets staked him to a 1-0 lead. Brett Beatty with the sacrifice fly to cash in for the Mets. Unfortunately, that's all they got because the Mets began the bottom of the first inning with 3 straight hits, one from Lindor, one from Bo Bichette, and then an infield single that deflected off the glove of Nolan Arenado for Jorge Polanco. Unfortunately, Luis Robert went down swinging. Beatty was able to bring Lindor home with the sacrifice fly, and then Vientos unfortunately flew out. So that was a bit of a missed opportunity there. Bases loaded, nobody out in the first. Chance to really get to Zach Gallen, who has had really good numbers against the Mets over his career. And unfortunately, the Mets are only able to get one. But then we go to the second inning, and with one out after retiring Nolan Arenado, Freddie Peralta against Vargas gets a ground ball to short that. Let's just call it how it is. Lindor boots it. Lindor boots an easy ball. It kind of takes a little hop on him, hits him in the heel of the glove. And that made Freddie have to work a little extra because he walked the next batter in, I guess that was, I don't even know, Thomas, I believe it was at the one point. They pinch hit twice in the 8 spot today, but it was Thomas at that point in the game. He gets the walk, a sacrifice bunt from Barossa, and then Freddie able to end the inning by striking out Ketel Marte. But he had to throw a lot of extra pitches because of that error and ends up with 20-pitch second inning, already at 43 pitches now through the first 2 innings. The Mets come back, get another run there in the second. Francisco Alvarez working a nice 2-out walk there, and then Lindor roping that ball in the right field that Corbin Carroll just couldn't get a beat on. The relay back into the infield is offline. It gets away from the middle infielder. Francisco Alvarez able to pick up his third base coach, Tim Leeper, and get sent home to give the Mets a 2-0 lead. Freddie would go back out for the third inning, go 1-2-3 in desperate need of a quick inning. He gets it there, just 11 pitches, putting his pitch count at 54 pitches. Let me go to the super chat here real quick, and thank you though before I continue with this. Liability, thank you for the $1.99 super chat. Appreciate that. As you guys know, Mookie right over here gonna get some nice treats with that. Thank you very much, Liability. I appreciate you very much. He says Glasses Mendy is a genius. He can see now. That was the problem all along. Mendy didn't even know who he was putting in at times, either from the bullpen or to pinch hit, because he could not literally see them. Now he's got the glasses. I can see clearly now. Rain is gone. You never want to hear me sing, so I apologize for that. In any case, RM 1042, when I saw Sewald in the game for Arizona, I knew we were golden. That's funny because I felt the opposite, because Sewald has actually been pretty solid against the Mets since they let him go a few years back. But hey, I'm glad you were right and I was wrong. Danny Caps, Devin Williams getting it done again. It's okay to bend, just don't break. That's been the case here outside of his first save against Arizona. He has definitely bent a lot, but has managed to put up 4 scoreless outings as a New York Met, including 2 for 2 on saves. So love to see it from Devin Williams. Anyway, we're back to this game. 2-0. 1-2-3, 11-pitch inning for Freddie Peralta. Pitch count at 54 through 3 innings. And I'm feeling like, all right, these got a good chance to go 6. It'd be nice if the Mets lineup could pick it up a little bit, because they really didn't do a whole lot in those middle innings against Zach Gallen. He really got into a groove there. But the 4th inning, you get a strikeout to lead things off from Peralta, ground out from Arenado, and then the bunt attempt from Vargas that Peralta gets to. And it does end up going down as a hit, but Peralta's throw was on time to Vientos. He jumped up for whatever reason, and it just hit off of his glove and dropped it. And that forced Peralta to have to throw a lot more pitches once again, just like the error from Lindor in the 2nd inning. Again, it goes down as a base hit, but I personally would have called that an error on Vientos for not just being able to catch that ball. And so now we're talking about 74 pitches for Peralta through the first 4 innings, thanks to 2 errors. And so I'm thinking now, maybe he's not even going to get through 5. And unfortunately, that's exactly how things went. He strikes out the first 2 batters in Barossa and Ketel Marte for the 2nd time this afternoon. And then it's Corbin Carroll with a 2-out base hit. Then it's the 2-out walk to Perdomo. He's looking in the dugout. He's saying, please, I want to stay in this game, to Carlos Mendoza. Mendoza lets him do it, which I loved the call for that. He's not up over 95 pitches yet. Give him an opportunity to get out of it. he gets his chance and he ends up hitting Moreno with a 1-2 curveball right in the back of the leg. And from there, you knew it was over. So Peralta, final line on him, 4 2/3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 3 walks, a hit batsman, and 5 strikeouts. He threw 101 pitches, 62 of them for strikes, 41 of them were out of the zone. So the most pitches that Freddie has thrown by far, but it is also the shortest start that he has made this year, I believe. 5 innings, 4 runs against the Pirates. Last time out against the Cardinals, I believe it was either 5 1/3 or 5 2/3 against St. Louis. And today, unfortunately, the pitch count just getting too high in that 5th inning. For whatever reason, he just could not put it to bed after striking out the first 2 batters of the inning. So the Mets do what they have done so often this year, and that's go to Huascar Braziban when their starting pitcher sees the first sign of trouble. And to this point, before the 5th inning this afternoon, Braziban has been brilliant in those spots. I mean, has consistently gotten out of those jams, even in some cases went on to have a 1-2-3 or clean following inning as well. But today was not that day, and we know exactly why. Because on a 1-2 pitch, home plate umpire rings up Castillo. They go to the challenge, and it's a ball. And it makes it 2-2 now. And, you know, honestly, on the live shot of it, I didn't think it was a strike. I did believe this call was going to get overturned. So I was not surprised. I was not disappointed. I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And very next pitch, sure enough, line drive base hit, 2-run single. Game is tied. After that, then to Arenado again with 2 outs. I believe Arenado might have had 2 strikes. A bloop base hit. I mean, how many bloops have the Mets had fall in against their pitching staff so far this year? We need to start a counter for that because it feels like there's already been 15, and a lot of them coming at very inopportune times. 2 outs and runners in scoring position, but Arenado, the Met killer, finding a way, even though he didn't hit it very hard, to give the Diamondbacks the lead, as that makes it 3-2. So Braziban comes in. He pitches just that third of an inning. He ends up giving up 2 hits. None of those runs, of course, are earned. I omitted the earned runs to Peralta because all 3 of those were in fact charged to him. So 4 2/3, 3 earned runs for Freddie Peralta on the day. Look, it was not a great start for Freddie. I thought his stuff looked pretty good until it didn't. I thought he was looking really nasty there, worked out of a little bit of trouble, had to work around the errors from Vientos and from Lindor, but wasn't in the zone enough. Like I said, 62 strikes, and I believe it was 40 balls. So it just wasn't consistently enough in the zone for him, and it came back to bite him there in the 5th inning. Braziban, in his case, look, it's a tough break, man. I'm not going to get on Braziban too much. You know, he made some really good pitches. Unfortunately, doesn't get the call there, and you know that's the new reality of Major League Baseball with the challenge system, but it ends up getting overturned, and that's got to be hard mentally, psychologically, to tune back in after you're walking off the mound thinking you just got a huge strikeout to strand 2 men aboard, and it ends up being, nope, it's actually 2-2 now, and you got to get back up there and in the zone again. So it's hard for me to blame Braziban, but he ends up giving a line drive single there, and then again, a bloop hit from Arenado. So it's not like Arenado hit a double off the wall or took him deep for a home run. A little bloop hit that unfortunately found some grass, just like Rafi Devers hit against Senga on Sunday afternoon. So hard for me to really place too much blame on Huascar Braziban, but at the end of the day, you know, it is Peralta having to work these deep pitch counts. And I mentioned the errors, but he also went to a lot of 3-ball counts against the Diamondbacks this afternoon, and that was part of it. So real quick, let me go to the chat. Jimmy James says, for the earlier Lindor comment, I think I agree with the take you guys had on the segment with Al Cintron before. Outside of Bobby Witt, who are we going to have at shortstop? Thank you, Jimmy. So Jimmy's referring to the interview I did with WFAN's Al Cintron on his show last night, 3 a.m. I stayed up till 3 just to do it with Al because he's a great guy. I've known him for years, and it was a great time. And that was my comment where, you know, Al basically asked me, you know, there's some Mets fans that actually want Lindor traded or don't like him. What do you say to that? And I said, name me 3 shortstops that are better than him. I could name 1, and that's Bobby Witt Jr., and that's it. I can't think of another shortstop I'd rather have on the Mets than Francisco Lindor. So thank you, Jimmy. I agree, and that's my feeling on it. And, you know, he still ends up having 2 hits today. And yes, there is the error, but unfortunately, it's never going to be enough for everybody. So Stony Ray's in here. Great to see him. Ray, Braza was pissed by the overturn. No composure after that. Exactly what I was saying, man. Hard to get your composure back and get back in that zone after you think you just had a huge strikeout, and then you got to wait and get back on the mound, wait for the batter to get back in the box and get your, you know, your bearings again. So really hard for me to place too much blame on Brazaban, who has been terrific this year outside of today's performance. Joe says Mookie sat that early interview out. Yeah, Mookie, he's always chilling, man. Anyway, Mookie was probably in his 5th dream by then, but he actually just perked up and stood up when I said his name. But all right, so let's see, where were we at? The Mets bats kind of went silent after that. Like I said, Zach Gallen really got into a groove there. Let's take a look at the box score in a better way so you guys could see it a little bit cleaner. Take a look at the Mets box score. Lindor with the 2 hits, like I mentioned. Nice start from the top 3 in the order. 2 for Polanco, 1 for Bo Bichette. Got robbed of, like I said, potentially a walk-off base hit there in the 10th inning as well. Could have been 2 on the day for him. Base hit, obviously, for Ronny Mauricio. That's the biggest one of all. No hits for Robert, but he does draw 2 walks, and he probably should have drawn 3 and not been struck out, because that home plate umpire really started expanding the zone against the Mets, and the Mets only in that 8th, 9th, and 10th inning. No doubt about it. I'm sorry. There were a lot of missed calls from this home plate umpire, and specifically only against the Mets. I'm not saying that it was a bias. I'm just saying how I saw it. And there were a lot of missed calls, in my opinion, against the Mets. It doesn't matter. The Mets get the win, but it should have probably been 3 walks for Robert there. He probably should have had that one in the 8th inning, or whenever, I believe it was in the 8th inning there, after Polanco's leadoff base hit during that rally. Beatty gets base hit after him, though, that inning. That was his lone one on the day. I tweeted something earlier, and I just said, look, Brett Beatty has had a bad start to the year, okay? And he ends up coming through with that base hit. Both things can be true. He had a good base hit in this one in that 8th inning to make it 1st and 3rd, but he's also had a really rough start to the season, because prior to that, we saw him start the 5th inning at bat with a 3-0 count against Gallen, with Robert leading from firsts and 2 outs. And after that, watched 3 straight fastballs right down the plate. Did not take his bat off the shoulder. And that gave him, at that point in the year, an 8 for 36, meaning a 222 average. And I would tell you his on-base percentage, but here's the thing. In those 36 at-bats, he has not drawn a walk this year yet. So Brett Beatty has not been swinging the bat or seeing the ball very well, in my opinion. We saw him ground into that 1-2-3 double play with the bases loaded out in San Francisco over the weekend, but both things can be true. He gets the clutch base hit, but he's also been having a bit of a rough start to this year, as I just alluded to, with that 5th inning at bat, giving him 10 strikeouts in his first 36 at-bats and no walks so far this year. So I need to see something out of Brett Beatty here if we're going to be giving him consistent everyday starts roving around the diamond for this team. Hitless for Vientos in this one, like I said. Simeon 0 for 4 and Benj a tough 0 for 3. Let's call it how it is. That ball up the middle where they shaded him in the infield, that ball was hit over 100 miles per hour. And then obviously the one there against in center field in the 10th inning that very nearly could have been a walk-off homer if not for the windy conditions. Alvarez with an infield single in this one. I bet you didn't have that on your bingo card, but also drawing a 2-out walk there in the 2nd inning that he comes around to score on the Francisco Lindor double into right field. So look, after that Francisco Alvarez base hit there in the 4th inning, the Mets did not have a hit again until Polanco's leadoff hit in the 8th. The 5th, 6th, and 7th all came and went by. They had just 1 base runner in those middle 3 innings from the 5th on through the 7th. A walk from Luis Robert, and that was it. And unfortunately, I don't think we can sit here and say that this offense is going to be like the offense we saw against the Giants, and that's unrealistic for almost double-digit runs pretty consistently like they did in San Francisco. But this looked a lot more like the offense we were seeing when they were at Citi Field for the series opener or season season series opener against Pittsburgh, where, scored a little bit early, but then really took their foot off the pedal, and, nothing really happened in those middle innings. So not the most impressive offensive performance, but fortunately they're able to get enough runs across and some clutch hitting from this team. And you got to give shouts to Jared Young there in the 8th inning, getting pinch hit for Mark Vientos with an out and runners on the corners, gets the sac fly, and that's all you needed from him there. Sets the whole new ball game up for them at 3-3, and then obviously go to the 10th inning. Ronny Mauricio, the hero. So let's go to the chat really quick. Let's see. Right, Tony, Keith was so off on the balls and strike calls today. Too funny. Keith was wrong just about on every single one. I don't know what he was looking at, but yeah, Keith kept thinking he was on these, and he was very, very off. No doubt about it. Stoney, agree, Ray. This team has got fight. Last year's team didn't. So far, they do, without a doubt. Hopefully that continues. I saw a lot of good things from the team last year. Don't forget, they were the best pitching staff in baseball for the first 2 months of last year, and look how quickly that dissipated. I do think fight or grit is not something that you just lose, though. I mean, pitching was obviously crestfallen last year because of all the injuries and just guys, underperforming. But, as far as effort and comeback fortitude, that's not something that just goes away overnight. So I hope this is a kind of mentality and feeling that continues. And it's nice they've gotten a couple of these early in the year now to kind of erase that bad taste that was in their mouth last season, coming off that horrible stretch where they just couldn't find a way to win games when trailing late. So really nice to see. Who else do we got here? Serving, I have no idea what that name is, dude. I'm just going to say save the BYG. Tony, here's a thought. Ronnie's a 5'2" player. He's 6'4". Why not let him have a shot to learn first base? He's been at pretty much every other position in the minors except pitcher and catcher. That is a very out-of-the-box idea that I have not heard before, and I kind of like it. I do. Ronnie's super athletic. He's a tall, big guy. He doesn't have the biggest, widest frame. He's still young. I could even see him still putting on some weight and getting bigger, but it's not a bad idea. I mean, the Mets were committed to putting shortstops all over the field this year, right? Ronnie came up as a shortstop, even though now he profiles more as a third baseman, but why couldn't he make the transition to the other corner infield spot? I don't hate that idea at all. I will say this, outside of that little, bobble from Vientos on Peralta's throw on that bunt attempt there in the 3rd inning or 4th inning, Vientos has looked really good at first. He had a couple of nice picks today that were tricky. They were not just easy candy hop picks. So Mark Vientos has looked really, really good at first base as well. So I don't think Ronnie's here for the long haul. I think as soon as Soto is ready, he's going back to AAA, no matter what he does, unless the Mets have a different idea of sending Carson Bench back to AAA. I think that'd be the only way that you end up keeping Ronny Mauricio once Juan Soto returns to this team, is if they've seen enough from Carson Bench to decide he needs more time in AAA. We still believe in him, but we want to make sure that he's getting everyday at-bats, and we just can't afford to do it here at the big league level anymore, and it's not doing him any good anyway right now. I think that's the only way that Ronny Mauricio can avoid being sent back to Syracuse. So, honestly, I'd probably lean that way with how Benj has been looking lately. So, not a bad idea by you at all. Maybe sending Ronnie over to first base. Ray says, always love when Tony shows the overall numbers on the screen. Oh, good, man. I'm glad. Let me know how I can improve these streams, guys. Let me know if there's anything that you think would be a good idea for me to show. I know it can get kind of boring here sometimes to look at this stuff, but, let me know and I'll be happy to do it. So I'm glad to hear that, though. All right. Great. Here's more numbers for you guys. First of all, RM1042, thank you for the super chat. $2, man. Keep doing your thing. Tony, just showing support. RM, you've been an OG for a long time, and you have been watching these streams and commenting for a very, very long time, and I really, really appreciate that, guys. Look, shouts to you guys, because getting the opportunity to do my guest spot on WFAN, a radio station that I've listened to my entire life as a huge New York sports fan, only happens because you guys come and watch my YouTube videos. You support me, you leave likes, you leave comments, you come to these live streams, and I'm sure you do it on a lot of the other platforms as well. So the only reason people like Al over at The Fan see me is because you guys have continued to prop me up. So huge shouts to you guys, and thank you very, very much for that, guys. Super appreciative of that. Kev Chata, count on Mauricio was 0 for 2. Being a free swinger, off speed at plate or a head level fastball would have struck him out. I mean, I can't believe Paul Sewald went to the fastball again. It should have been higher in the zone, and I think that's what Sewald wanted. But, bro, I would have just thrown him nothing but sliders after he got to a 2-strike count. That has been the book on Ronny Mauricio in his young MLB career. So, hey, I am not upset by it at all. Not even in the slightest. Who else do we got? Let me just make sure before we run through some more numbers. Sal Capello, what's up, Sal? We need a big start from Peterson, get the win and the series W. Yeah, man, Peterson is really in need of a bounce-back start after that hellacious effort that he had against the Giants in the opener last Thursday. 9 hits in 4 1/3 innings pitched and gets tagged for 5 runs. Really should have been 6, as we know. Again, that dropped feed on the ground ball to Vientos there in the first that allowed another run to score. It got marked an error, but again, I always say, pitcher makes an error, I think it should go on their ERA. I digress. Need it from Peterson, and that would be nice. Mets do not particularly play well in day game or rubber games, and that is what Thursday would be if they don't win tomorrow. So hopefully Peterson does have a good start tomorrow, Sal. I am right there with you. Kepchada, does Mauricio, remind you of Pittsburgh's Cruz? I think, yeah, but it's going to sound bad because they kind of look alike, and I don't mean anything by that. They do look alike, but not just for obvious, their skin color's the same and everything, but they're tall, lanky, super wiry guys, and they have 5-tool potential. So, like, they have the same looking face and the same looking appearance in their stature, and they kind of do rank as like the same type of profile, I should say, as the same type of kind of player. So I could see that with Oneil Cruz for sure, and even Ellie De La Cruz too, guy that could be a 5-tool player, big, tall, lanky, wiry guy. So we will see when and if Ronny Mauricio does put it together like those guys have to their own varying degrees. But let's see. Hey, Jimmy, no problem, man. Appreciate you being in here. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. All right, here's why I pulled up these next stats here, because we already talked about Ray Mookie Bones. Thank you for the super chat, $1.99. Mookie Bones is right. He's going to get some good treats off of these super chats here today, guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm going to take him on a good long walk after I finish up here and then pump out some more content for you guys this evening. But Braziman comes on. We know he gives up the 2 hits. One of them, obviously, after the overturned strike 3 call. Hard to tune back in. And then the blue pit against Arenado. I am throwing that one away, man. I am just totally going to throw this appearance from Braziman away. That's a tough spot for sure. But then you go to Luis Garcia. And, hey, Garcia kept them in this game. Garcia gives you 2 scoreless innings, only gives up 1 hit, even wears a line drive right off of his forearm. Fortunately, not his pitching forearm. It was on the glove hand, but that ball came rocketed at him, stayed in the game. He did give up a base hit after that, but was able to give you 2 scoreless innings. And I think the biggest blessing out of Luis Garcia giving you 2 scoreless innings in this one was to not have to see Richard Lovelady. So if nothing else, Luis Garcia saved us all from that. So really nice job from Garcia. Probably the best that he has looked so far. I think this was maybe his 3rd or 4th appearance. So really solid job from Garcia. Mets go to Brooks Raley, and in what was probably his least efficient outing so far this year, he still has a scoreless appearance for the team. Gave up a base hit, fell behind in a lot of counts, still managed to have 2 strikeouts, and take a look at that right there. Yeah, that's pretty donut holes right there for the ERA. And he's not the only one, because you go to Devin Williams with a tie game now in the 9th. Stoney, thank you so much for the super chat, $2. He says, and thank you also, Tony. No need to thank me, guys. This is my passion, talking sports. You guys know my history, my story of being a sports anchor for Fox and ABC here in Lincoln, Nebraska. And I'm still chasing that dream, but in a different way now, doing it here through social media and for my true passion of the New York Mets. So hopefully this is all going to turn into something big. It already is, because I got you guys here with me, but I really do appreciate you guys just consistent, loyal following. So thank you for the super chat very much, Stoney. Kepchada, I tuned off the game when I noticed the Lovelady warming up. Look, if the Mets didn't take the lead there in the 8th inning, they were going to Richard Lovelady, without a doubt. So fortunately, they were able to tie it. I'm sorry, if they didn't tie the game or take the lead there in the 8th, they were going to go to Richard Lovelady. Fortunately, they tied it, and they get to go to Devin Williams, who is the next guy I wanted to talk about. Williams comes in. Let me just take a look real quick at my scorecard here. Gives up the leadoff base hit to Ketel Marte. Then ends up getting Corbin Carroll to strike out. Gets the fly out to right field from Perdomo, but then another base hit to Moreno, who was a real thorn in our side today. 2 base hits, plus drew a walk, and was that hit batsman from Freddie Peralta there in the 5th that led to that whole 3-run inning from off of Peralta and Brazabon. So Moreno really a pain in the butt today. But after that, 2 men aboard, bears down, gets Castillo, who had the big 2-run tying single in that 5th inning, to strike out swinging. So look, another bend don't break kind of performance from Devin Williams. He has been scoreless. I wanted to say flawless. I don't think that's the right way to describe it, but he hasn't given up a run so far now in his 4th appearance as a New York Met. Just like Raley, that 0.00 earned run average. And I mean, honestly, outside of Tobias Myers, Brooks, Raley, Luke Weaver might have had the best start to the year of any of the Mets relievers to this point. Luke Weaver has been in some very high leverage innings this year, and he has been excellent so far. He gives you a nice, clean 1-2-3 10th inning with his back against the wall. The ghost runner beginning the inning at second base, and somehow, some way, gets the pop out of Nolan Arenado, who is a Met killer. Gets the line out from Vargas. Probably should have been a pop-up behind the plate, but Alvarez couldn't find it. And then gets the strikeout swinging of the pinch-hitting Tawa to end the inning. And from there, you know the Mets got a huge opportunity to win the ball game with it still tied and the leadoff runner at second in the bottom of the 10th. Wow, this bullpen, man, I just gave them an A for their effort in San Francisco. As you guys know, my series grades at the end of every series. I mean, they just have been probably the best group of this entire team so far. Between the starting pitchers, the position players, they have been the best, most consistent group of this team so far. And that was what I was most fearful of entering this year, was the Mets bullpen. And they have just completely blown me away to this point. Awesome job by Weaver. Williams has been able to work out of some trouble. Raley, Mr. Consistent. Brazabon up until today has been excellent. Tobias Myers, it has been a lot of fun watching this bullpen go to work. And they have given the Mets a lot of opportunities to come back and win games just like they did here today. So shout out to those guys. John Talento's in the chat. That's my guy. He says, what up, fellas? The ump behind the plate was brutal. I was just saying that, John, not 10 minutes ago. Maybe 15, about how the umpire really was killing the Mets on some of those calls here today. Fortunately, they were able to pull it out anyway, but that home plate ump was terrible. Kev Chada said, did you agree with letting Peralta go for an extra batter? I did. I know he walked the, the 3-hitter Perdomo there. He struck out the first 2 hitters of the inning, and look, he had him 1-2 on Moreno there with a chance to finally put that 5th inning to bed. I think it was a curveball that just came out of the hand wrong, that he just couldn't snap off and got away from him. You know, it happens. And unfortunately, you know, that's where the end of the line was for Peralta. But I was fine with letting him go. Look, if this guy is going to be our ace or our number 1 top of the rotation type of starter, you got to trust in him and give him the opportunity to get out of those kinds of jams. This was one of those tests today to see if he could do it. Unfortunately, he's unable to. I'm still going to give him that opportunity again if it presents itself in the future. And if we get bitten by it again and then maybe a third time, then yeah, maybe I'm going to start to change my mind. But you don't trade 2 top 100 prospects and then flirt with the idea of giving this guy a huge contract extension to pull him at the first sign of trouble. It was unfortunate he couldn't get out of it, but you know what? I still have a lot of faith in Freddie Peralta, even though these first 3 starts for him in the orange and blue have been a bit uneven. But let me see. Who else do we got in here? Lovelady looks like Beaker from the Muppets. Joe Saturn. That's the comment of the stream. Well done, Joe. I love it. That's spot on. Let's see. Who else do we got in here? CB24203. What is up, CB, man? First time I think I've seen you in a stream here this season. All right. With that last name, there's no way in hell he didn't get ragged on. Hey, it's a good thing that he was a good athlete, right? Because you could shut anybody up when you could throw a fastball. I'm guessing probably in the 90s when he was a little bit younger, maybe, right? I don't know. But in any case, yeah, Love Lady, I don't think is long for this team, but fortunately we did not have to go through another one of his exhausting innings today. Again, I give some credit to Luis Garcia for having those 2 scoreless. John, really happy you're in here, man. Welcome in. All right, guys, let's preview tomorrow's game, the middle game of this 3-game set. Again, this game will be at 4:10 p.m. Eastern. Mets move today's game and tomorrow's game as well because of the expected cold weather and wind. It looked miserable out there in this afternoon, so I can't imagine what it's going to be like there in the evening. So good call by the Mets. We talked about it before. David Peterson coming off a really tough start his last time out in San Francisco, ended up going just 4 1/3 innings pitched. Giants were just attacking him first pitch, and I'm going to be interested to see if the Diamondbacks use that same approach where they're going to go after him in early counts and try to put the ball in play. They were just absolutely ripping lasers off of him that entire first inning and 2 innings really for the Giants against Peterson. So look, his first start of the year was solid against Pittsburgh. He went, 5 1/3. He did give up 6 hits and walked 2, just 3 strikeouts. So it wasn't a great start, but no earned runs. Unfortunately, and I said this at the beginning of the year, I kind of just feel like David Peterson is who he is at this point. A guy that gives up a lot of hits, a lot of walks. There's going to be constant traffic. If you get 6 out of him, 2 runs, you'll be satisfied. But I just don't think you're going to see too many 6 innings, 1-run appearances or 6 innings shutout appearances from David Peterson. I think, if I'm being honest with you, he's probably the weakest link in this rotation right now, based on how Senga's looked, based on how Clay Holmes has looked. Obviously, Peralta, McLean doing their thing. So unfortunately, yeah, Peterson has just not been great. Would not be surprised that him and Minaya start this kind of piggyback situation if Peterson continues to falter early like he did. And that's exactly what happened last time out in San Francisco. But as of now, ERA sits at 4.66 through his first 9 2/3 innings. But that whip is really the ugly number there, 1.97. And historically for his career, a 1.38 whip. Like I said, this is kind of who Peterson has always been. Lots of base hits, lots of walks, and it's a cause for a lot of panicking and agita from us as fans as we are watching. He's going to be taking on, I don't even know who this is. I'm going to be totally honest with you. Ryan Nelson is going to be starting for the Diamondbacks. Let's see. Career regular season has a 4.21 earned run average over 80 starts. He's also made 15 appearances as a reliever so far this year through his first 2 starts. Let's see how he did. He's got a overall ERA of 5.79 in 9 1/3 innings pitched. But wow, kind of looking like carbon copies of each other. Against the Dodgers, his first start of the year, gave up 4 earned runs in 4 2/3, and then again against the Braves last week, 2 earned runs, 7 overall. So maybe some sloppy defense that led to that big number there against the Braves. But again, 2 homers in that game, 2 homers against the Dodgers in his first start. So he's given up 4 home runs already in his first 2 starts. He's also issued 3 walks in each of those games, as you can see right here. So, boy, I hope the Mets bats are ready to go and tee off against this guy. It seems anytime I say that, it does not end up coming to fruition. So, hopefully I didn't jinx them with that. But 2 bombs in each of his first 2 games, 3 walks in each of the first 2 starts for him. Not great. So, hopefully the wind isn't as bad and some can carry out at Citi Field tomorrow for the Mets. But nice win today, guys. Ronny Mauricio, the hero. Love to see it on his first opportunity, his first at-bat of the season. Like I said, I mean, maybe just 24 hours in New York City since he got the call from AAA. So stories get written like that, man. That is just so awesome to see. I am pumped about it. 4 straight wins for the Mets as they defeat the D-backs, a final score of 4-3. Let me quickly run through the end of the chat here. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. My bad, CB. Just haven't commented. Okay, but you've been in here. I appreciate it, dude. Thank you, CB. Welcome. I'm sorry I didn't realize you'd been in these chats, the streams, but happy to have you. Kev Chada in general, we haven't run as much as last year. Do you think it's on the new first base coach or new philosophy? I mean, I don't know, because they were so successful doing it last year. It's like, why wouldn't you do it? So I don't know. Antoine Richardson was just a genius over there. And I'm not sure, but I feel like the players have to have gotten some insight into what he was advising them to do. They're the ones stealing the bases anyway. So I'm not sure why they haven't run as much as they did last year, but I would like to see it happen a little bit more. But yeah, not a whole lot of base stealing to this point whatsoever. Ricky, the baseball guy, do you think Clay Holmes should move to the pen and bring Tong up? No. Absolutely not. Only because, well, first of all, Clay Holmes has been excellent for his first 2 starts. I'm very happy with what we've gotten from him as a number 3 starter going back to last year. And I don't think Tong is ready. If Tong proves that he's ready at some point, the guy that would be the odd man out, in my opinion, is David Peterson. And then in that case, you know, there's a real logjam because you got Sean Manaea in the pen already. You got Peterson then. You got Rayleigh, and then you got A.J. Minter coming back in the beginning of May. So I don't foresee there being 4 lefties in the Mets pen. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't think Jonah Tong is going to actually make a big league start this year. I'd kind of be surprised if he does. The Mets are already 6, maybe 7 deep with big league starting pitchers on the current 26-man roster, between the 5 already in the rotation, Sean Manaea in the bullpen, plus Tobias Myers with starter experience. And I think they would probably go to Christian Scott before they would go to Jonah Tong. And I think they're really prioritizing his development. And if he is not undoubtedly so clearly ready to dominate in the big leagues, or at least be a very good big league pitcher, I don't think he's going to get the call from AAA this season. So I don't think Tong's that guy yet. Let's see. Crimson. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed you. RM 1042. Peterson will never get back to his all-star form. You heard it from me first. I think he's done. I kind of agree. I am not super certain about him. I definitely don't think Peterson's ever going to be that guy. I mean, it's fair to say he's already underwhelmed, being that he was a first-round pick in, I think it was 2016 or 17. So, yeah, Peterson has unfortunately not lived up to that hype, but I do definitely have the least amount of faith in him than I do in any of the other starters at this point. RM 1040, or I'm sorry, Ray Peterson, better deal. He'll be in the pen eventually, regressing. There's no doubt about it. We'll see what happens with him. Guys, that is going to do it. Crimson Angel, real quick, liked the game today. Great offense, but got to stop going into extras. As someone that does these post-game streams and all this stuff, I try to get together here, like the little outlay here and, you know, the highlights here, and then posting on all the other platforms. I completely agree with you, Crimson Angel. No more extra inning games. How about a 9-0 win tomorrow for the Mets in 9 innings? That would be great. Can we have that, please? I am begging them to please just have a win in the first 9 innings of tomorrow's game against the DBacks. But guys, thank you once again so much for watching. Thank you for tuning in, for leaving likes. Best thing you can do for me is to subscribe to the channel. I'm sure most of you already are, but if you're not, do it now. Place for daily Mets content, post-game Mets streams. Also, leave a like on this video. That really helps the channel out a lot. And share this video with a baseball fan in your life. Share it with a Mets fan in your life. Someone that wants to talk baseball. This is the place for that. So, million thank you to you guys once again. That's going to do it for right now. Mets get the win, 4 in a row. Final of 4-3 over the Diamondbacks on Ronny Mauricio's walk-off base hit. But we'll be back with another post-game stream after tomorrow's game. Till next time, guys, I'm Tony Metro. Stay true to the orange and blue.